First two races. Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. Tom Leach, along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Mutuals and Simulcasting. And for this week's podcast, we're going to go a little in depth on the early pick 4 at Gulfstream because it includes the Grade 2 Royal Delta Stakes. So that'll be the fourth race on the card, the third leg of the early pick 4. And that starts in race 2. And the first two races are claiming races, then the stake, and then an allowance race. So it's a non-winners of 2 lifetime claiming event. And I ended up going to the one horse, I Believe I Can. Horses at this level, I like to find if I can find a horse that I think's really in peak form, and it looks like from that last race it was a best buyer that he shows on his form, and I think that could well be enough to win this from the inside post. So I like I Believe I Can. Diamonds and Gold, the 8, Popcorn Kitten, the 9 were the other ones I liked in here. How about you?
Yeah, before I start picking, I have to blow my own horn from last week because nobody else does it for me. So
go for it.
On the pick six we gave out, I hit 5 out of 6.
All
and
right.
The one I missed was a real obvious, the 5 horse in the fourth leg, an Ed Plessa second time starter that I just overlooked, and paid $8,000 that day, by the way. So I had 5 out of 6. I didn't play it myself, and I was wondering after 3 legs if I should because I did have a 13-1 shot in there, though. Betting Trubisky horse. So anyway, that's what I did last week. So let's see what I can do this week.
5 out of 6 still is good. So let's go. Let's go get the pick 4.
I agree with you on I Believe I Can. And the reason I liked him is that they claimed him from Ramsey. Ramsey has a habit. He runs this horse at Churchill and breaks the maiden for $10,000. And then Ramsey just wants to win a race, so he takes him to Gulfstream and puts him up for $62.50 and gets claimed. Comes back, runs a really good race, the best race of his life, gets a 64 buyer, and only gets beat by a length and a half at this level, $62.50 non-winners 2 lifetime, on a sloppy track. So even though it was a track he wasn't used to, he ran well. So I think he's the best pick in the second race. The other horses I like, you didn't mention Severino drops from claiming 12.5 down to 62.50, and Kelly Breen is 0 for 22 this beat at Gulfstream. So he's either really cold or he's really due. And I'm thinking that Severino may have a shot here because if he runs back to his races at Penn National and Monmouth, he broke his maiden for 10 by 6 1/4. So I think he's got a shot. So I'll use the 1-3, the 8 horse Diamonds and Gold that you mentioned. This is the second time at this level they had dropped him. He ran on the turf a lot and just couldn't get over the hump. That second lifetime win is always tough to get. So it takes him back to the dirt. He didn't have very good dirt form at the start of his career, but I think he is running well enough, and dropping from the second level at 62.50 has a shot. And then Party Crasher, the 11, is the outside horse that may get overlooked because he didn't run very well last out. He probably should have won at that level, $2,000 back in the summer. And they drop him down. Obviously, there's some issues with him, but there's a big difference in optional 50,000 claiming and 62.50. So toss the last. He went off as even money favorite. He was out off slow and just didn't run well at all. Still only got beat 2 lengths for all of it. So I think Party Crasher has a chance. So when we talk about the pick 4, I would use the 1, 3, 8, 11 in here.
Third race is a claiming event for non-winners of 3 lifetime. Where did you land in here?
I landed on 3 horses. I really didn't have a standout here. I was looking for a single, and I really didn't find it in this race. Off Duty hasn't run well. Had a 0 buyer last out. But if you look down at his work on February 6th, he ran 46 and 2 half mile. First of 104 at the distance on that day. So I don't know what they did to him, but he was feeling good on February the 6th. If he can just hold that up for another week, I think he could take this field, even though his previous form doesn't look very good. He didn't beat a horse the last 2 times out. So either he's really good in the morning and just doesn't wake up in the afternoon, or maybe they found out what's wrong with him. General Shamma is a horse that for Ed Zayas that has a shot. He's been running on turf and back on dirt. Shows really good form on turf, but again couldn't get over the hump. The 2 for 35 lifetime, so they're trying to get him the third lifetime win. May have a little bit of speed and on the dirt has a shot. I couldn't single him because it didn't have a good dirt form. And probably the horse that I would take on top if you made me take one horse is Love Rules All, a horse that's in the 5 hole. the 4-hole, I'm sorry, dropping from 12.5 to 62.50, and only 2 for 10 lifetime, so I hadn't had as much problem getting over the hump as some of these others, and it's been fairly consistent. Trainer change is not great, but Marat is 5 for 26. Jorge Navarro is a lot better, 26%. But Love Rosal is my other horse. Don't really have a strong opinion here, but I would try to take the 2, 3, 4 to get through the second leg of the pick 4.
I ended up taking a shot with the 6 in here for the win pick, just because the trainer and jock have good, pretty good win percentages, and in a weak field, that kind of attracted me. General Shamrock is the probably the next one for the reasons you mentioned. Renombre down on the rail I liked a little bit, but just didn't have a strong opinion in here, so I would use those 3. And I'm going to spread out in the next 2 legs, and so I've got to try to narrow the ticket down a little bit. So I'm going to have 3 horses here. The 4th race is the Grade 2 Royal Delta, fillies and mares, 4 and up, going a mile and a 16th. And in here, I had trouble narrowing it down. I ended up going with Penwith, the 4, for Kira McLaughlin. He ran big off a long layoff, or she did, and I could see her improving off that, not rather than bouncing. She's won twice at Gulfstream, which I like as well. But it's by no means a cinch. I thought Gambler's Rose was intriguing a little bit because of her speed out of the 2-hole for Dale Romans. Sandiva on the dirt from the turf for Pletcher. He has just been incredibly hot down there. Call Pat the 1. I think it's a good horse, but I don't really like the running style coming from way out of it. But still will have to use that one just on some class. And then the 3, Enchantress, another Pletcher. I think it's a horse that has some class on the days that she fires. So I would use the 4 for the win pick if you want to do a win bet, but then I'd use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. How about you?
It's amazing when you have a 6-horse race here and have a complete difference of opinion. I mean, I like Sandiva in here, but going turf to dirt and having no lifetime dirt starts, I don't really know what they're doing with her. Maybe it's a prep race. Maybe it's just a spot they want to try her on the dirt. She's got enough back class that she's much classier than anything else in here. But I went with a horse that you didn't like, the 6-horse, Best Behavior. She's stretching out from...
And that was the reason I didn't include her, was just the distance. She's a classy horse.
Yeah, but I looked at 6 for 16 Gulfstream. Whether she can carry her speed that far or not, I don't know. And I think mile and 16th is a stretch, but she has carried it from a mile before at Gulfstream in a $62,000 optional claimer back in July, and then almost won a $60,000 stakes right before that. So she's run at a mile, and I just don't think she's going to get much early pressure. I think Gambler's Rose has some speed at a distance, but if you look at the splits, I mean, Best Behavior, carved out a 45 last time out. She better not do that. She'll hit the wall about the 7/8 mark. But if she can just relax and lead, I think she's going to get a fairly easy lead here. So I'm going to take Best Behavior in an upset, but I'd also use Sandiva the 5. And Gambler's Rose is the other speed that intrigues me. I just think that she's not as quick as Best Behavior, and I like the 6 for 16 Gulfstream. So I'm going to take those 2, Sandiva the 5 and Best Behavior the 6.
Let's move on to the 5th race, the final leg of this early pick 4. It's a turf race. Non-winners of one other than allowance. And I thought a tough one to narrow down here for me. Who did you go to?
Yeah, this is a nice race. I wound up taking 4 horses. I would probably, the top pick would be Soki, the 2. Paco Lopez can get her out of the gate. She didn't get out of the gate last time out at 7.5 furlongs. She'd been to the lead every call, her first 2 races, and then she didn't get out. They moved her up from, obviously, maiden special weight to Alpha 25,000, which is this level. Got beat by 1.5, and she had a little bit of a trouble. So only 3 races, got a lot of upside, and I like Paco Lopez a lot. I'd also use Wild About Jazz, the 4. Last time out was the 29th of January, and I was in Vegas, and I really liked this horse on the grass, and they took it off the grass, and she won anyway. It's 4-1, and I did not have her, so I remember those things. So And they dropped her down to 16. She got claimed, and they're bringing her back for 25, which is a good sign. And they're going back to turf, and she's got to be better on turf. And I always thought she'd been 2-1 that day at Gulfstream if it stayed on the turf. So I would use Wild About Jazz. I also use the 3 to Sunky. Go back to Toss, the last one that was off the turf, and she obviously didn't like it very much. But, a couple of races back, she went back-to-back biters of 77. So I would use the 2, 3, 4, and the fourth horse I would use here is the 9, Claiming Victory, for Marco Satali. She ran well at this level last out and just got beat a half length, and she's very consistent. Likes Gulfstream, 2 for 12 with 3 seconds. So I would use the 2, 3, 4, 9 to finish up my pick 4. So I believe that I would have spent $48 with the 1, 3, 8, 11, with 2, 3, 4, with 5, 6, with 2, 3, 4, 9.
Yeah, I used all the ones that you used plus the 6 in here. For a win bet, I would go to the 3 to Sunky for Pletcher. But Claiming Victory, the 9, I think is real intriguing too. Not wild about the post, but otherwise I think there's a good bit to like there. But Soki, the 2, Wild About Jazz, the 4. Share the Music, the 6, I would also include, along with Claiming Victory and Tasunki. So I like 5 horses there. So what I did for my pick 4, to keep the ticket manageable, I singled I Believe I Can in the first leg. Used the 3 I mentioned in the third. Used all 5 horses I mentioned in the fourth, and all 5 in the fifth. So 1 by 3 by 5 by 5. If your budget allows, you could go a little deeper in that first leg. But I'm going to take a stand with I Believe I Can. And Jim, just to recap, what's your early pick 4 ticket look like?
Okay, I've got 1, 3, 8, 11 in the first. I Believe I Can would be my top pick. I do agree with you on that. Severino, the 3, Diamonds and Go, the 8, and Party Crash of the 11. I go 3 deep in the second leg, 2, 3, 4 with off-duty General Shema and Love Rules All. 2 deep in the third leg with 5 Sandiva and 6 Best Behavior, and 4 deep in the fourth leg with 2, 3, 4, 9. That's Soki, Tasunki, Wild About Jazz, and Claiming Victory. I think that's $48.
Now, Tampa has a really nice card on Saturday as well. They have a Derby prep, the Sam F. Davis. That's our Keeneland Select video pick that Katie Gensler and I do, and they put out on Twitter. I took a Mark Cassie horse in there, What a Wonderful World, the 4, over the 2 Pletchers, Gettysburg and Destin. I think you could just box those 3 if you want to play exactas, but I thought I might get a little bit of a price on the Cassie horse, and this horse comes back on a short rest for one of his main clients, Gary Barber. And then the 8th race, Tepin, who was so spectacular in her 2 races at Keeneland, the second one being the Breeders' Cup Mile against the boys. She makes her 2016 debut in the Endeavor, and that's a really nice-looking field.
Yeah, it's Tampa's got a nice card on Saturday, and you start looking this time of year, and maybe even some tracks that you don't play very often have nice cards. We also have this weekend on Monday, President's Day, Oaklawn starts their Derby prep season with the Southwest, and there's a couple of Derby hopefuls in there, including a horse I've got a little future book bet on, Whitmore.
Yeah, very impressive at Keeneland, or at Churchill last fall in the November meet.
At Churchill, yeah, and I got 300 to 1 on him.
Oh, wow.
So, out in Vegas a couple weeks ago, so I took a little bit of that. Not a whole lot, but I've got enough that I can pay my way out there to cash in case he runs well the first Saturday in May.
Well, that would be worth the trip. So, some really good spots to look at this weekend. There's one other graded stake at Tampa, by the way, the Grade 3 Tampa Bay for the boys, kind of the complement to the Endeavor. So it's a really nice card there, and at Gulfstream. And then, as Jim mentioned, the Southwest, a big Derby prep coming up at Oaklawn on President's Day, Monday. So you can get out to the Red Mile if you're in Lexington for simulcasting, or play through KeenelandSelect.com. We'll be back next week for another edition of the In the Money podcast.